this. Oh. Good morning, thank you for joining me. So this is going to be a bit of a all over body kind of class, nothing too strenuous. If you've got any injuries or any health conditions, please just work mindfully through the practice and adapt as you need to. If you need to take breaks at any point, go ahead and do that. And you can also pause the video and then drop back in when you're ready to. You don't need to sort of miss out on bits. So we're going to start in a comfortable seat, preferably with the legs crossed. Doesn't matter if that's not comfortable for you. I'm just going to place the hands onto the knees or the thighs, close down the eyes for a few moments, just center ourselves. So just having a little scan through your body, see how you're feeling, checking in with the breath, and just starting to breathe in and out through the nose if you're able to. Just checking in with your mind. How are you feeling today? Do you feel quite calm or anxious? I'm not trying to change that in any way, just observing how we feel right now. And we'll check in again at the end of the practice. Now just seeing if you can make the breath more equal. So we want equal length inhalation and equal exhalation. And try and maintain this breath through the entire practice if you're able to. Lovely. And then blinking the eyes open when you're ready. So we're just going to take some seated cat-cows. So I'm going to turn to the side so you get more of an idea what that looks like. So just keeping the hands onto the knees. As you inhale, I want you to pull on your knees and bring the chest forward. So we start to arch through the lower back here. So lift the chest. You can look up if that feels okay for your neck. And then as you exhale, still holding onto the knees, round back. So you're really hanging off your knees. And you can drop the chin in towards the chest. Inhale to come forward, lift the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades behind you. And exhale to round. So you should feel the shoulder blades really separating here. Just do this a few more times with your own breath. Move at any speed that feels appropriate for you. And just really paying attention to any sensations that you feel. Maybe you're becoming aware of some tension into the back. And it's just useful so that we can work through our practice more mindfully of any areas of tension. We'll just do one more in each direction. And coming back to neutral, keeping the hands on the knees, we're just going to start to circle the upper body around. So there really is no right or wrong, doesn't matter which direction you've gone in. And you can bend your elbows, get the shoulders involved if that feels good. Just really warming up through the spine. Lovely. And reverse the circles. When we do any kind of circular motion, it is really useful to go in each direction because you often find that your body has different patterns of movements in either direction. And you might just feel into a place that you didn't quite catch on the first time. And coming back to center. Lovely. Just bring the hands out to the side. We're going to keep the right hand down on the mat, reaching the left fingertips up and over for a side bend. So really reaching through those left fingertips. And then you're going to bring that left hand down, sweep it all the way around to the left side at the same time as bringing the right arm up and over. So you end in the side stretch on the other side. We're just going to move in between those two. So bringing the right hand down, sweep all the way over, and moving back and forth. If you want to pause on one side, you absolutely can. It might feel nice to have that fluid movement. And as you come over, maybe you twist the chest up towards the sky a little bit more each time. And start to get that openness. So wherever you are, we'll just go to each side once more. Okay, and coming back to a neutral position when you're ready to. I'm going to sweep the arms up overhead, reach through the fingertips. You can look up if that feels okay. And then as you exhale, bring that left hand towards the right knee, and the right fingertips go behind. Gently twist. Make sure you lengthen up through the spine. Exhale to twist. So we're not applying any pressure in the right fingertips. They're just there to support us. Just make sure that right shoulder hasn't sort of crept up towards the ear. Okay. Inhale, sweep the arms back overhead. And exhale to the other side. Nice deep breaths right down into the belly. Inhale, arms back up to center. And as you exhale, just float the arms back down. So we're going to bring the hands down behind us, fingertips face in towards the body. Really press into the palms, lift the chest. And you can drop the head back if that feels okay, or just look directly forwards. Really work on lifting the chest so we get this openness across the front of the chest, and you might even feel it into the shoulders and the biceps as well. If you want to go a little bit further with this, I want you to uncross the ankles, place the feet on the ground, press into the hands and feet, lift up into reverse tabletop. And again, with the head, you can either let the head drop back or keep looking forward, whatever is most comfortable for your neck. And of course, you don't have to take this option. And exhale, sitting back down. We're going to make our way to all fours now. So just mindfully make your way there, take your time. When you arrive, bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, and take the hips about hip width apart, the knees, sorry. Nice neutral spine, so you're not sort of sticking your bum up in the air, and you're not rounding up. We've already sort of done that cat-cow, we're not doing that here. I want you to tuck your left toes under, slide the foot all the way back, and we'll just rock back and forth here. So we're stretching into the back of the leg, just warming up. Really press that heel away. You feel a really nice stretch in the calf. So if you do a lot of walking, that's a really nice stretch to do. And then we're going to lift that leg up to hip height. Just make sure that your leg's not externally rotating to the side. You want to keep the pelvis nice and level. Easiest way to do that is make sure the toes are pointing down. If you feel quite balanced here, I'm going to send that right arm forwards, reaching out as if you're going to shake somebody's hand. So the thumb is facing up towards the sky. Lovely. And place that right hand back down, keep the leg lifted. Now you're going to lower the toes down and start to spin around. So we're going to spin that right foot out towards the side of the mat and turn our body to face the left side of the mat. Just make sure that that back foot is really planted on the ground. You might need to adjust the foot. So once you're there, we're just going to open up that left arm to the sky. So in this kind of modified plank position. And you can look in any direction that feels okay for your neck. Sometimes it feels nice to look down, you get a little stretch. Lovely. And then we're going to float this left leg up, flex the foot, and bring the left arm, alongside the ear. Lovely. And then bring that left hand back down to the ground, spin the right leg back in, keep this leg lifted, and try and keep it at this height as you bring it all the way to the outside of that left hand at the front of the mat. I know it's difficult. Don't worry if you had to drop the leg. So we're in this lizard variation. And from here, I just want you to make any movement that feels good. So you could be circling around, moving back and forth, stretching into the hamstrings, rocking from side to side. There's no right or wrong. And it can feel really nice sometimes just to close your eyes while you do this, so you can really be guided by your body and the sensations that you feel. When we remove that sense of sight, we just pay more attention to other things. My hamstrings feel a little bit tight this morning, so moving back and forth feels good. Really, we just want to get into the hip area in general and stretch out through that left leg. Lovely. I'm just coming back forward so that front knee is bent. I'm going to keep the right hand on the ground. The left arm's going to reach forwards, up and back. So we're circling this arm. If that feels quite intense, I'd like you to bring the hand onto the shoulder or the collarbones, wherever's accessible, and circle the elbow. It's the exact same movement into the shoulder, but sometimes when we extend the arm out long, there's a bit of extra weight which can make it more intense. So just work with what feels good. Next time the hand comes to the top, we're going to reverse. Okay. Next time the hand comes to the top, we're going to leave it there. And then just open up towards the side. So you might want to really lean towards the right side of your mat so you can open up. Lovely. And keep the arm there. We're just going to bend that back foot. Bring it in towards the glutes. If you're able to reach, hold and grab it, just going to hold onto that foot and slowly draw it in towards you. So you feel that stretch into the front of the thigh on the right leg. If you weren't able to reach hold of it, you can just place the hand back down, but actively keep that foot drawing in towards you. Lovely. And release the foot down. Just bringing the hand back down. We're going to shuffle that left foot more towards the centre of your mat. Bring the hands onto the thigh so you can lift up. Then we're going to sink the hips forwards and down. So don't worry if the knees come past the ankle. We're not going to be here for too long. Just stretching into that right front of the hip. And of course, if that feels intense, just back out of it a little bit until you find where suits you. And then we're going to come upright now. Inhale, take the arms up overhead. Lovely. And as you exhale, you can bring that right hand down to the thigh and reach back with the left arm. Inhale back to center. As you exhale, bring the left hand down to the right thigh and reach back with the right arm. Inhale back to center and exhale, frame the front foot, and we're just going to step that leg back into our tabletop. You can have a little wiggle out here, maybe make a couple of circles with the hips. before we move to the other side. So from here, we're just going to tuck the right toes under, slide the leg back, and just rocking back and forth here, stretching out the right leg now. Lovely. And then you're just going to raise that leg to hip height, toes point down to keep the pelvis steady. I'm just going to turn around on my mat so I have a bit more space. Once you find your balance, if you feel able to, you're going to send the left arm forwards, reaching the arm out, thumb faces up towards the ceiling. Keep the gaze down towards the ground. And then place the hand back down. I'm just going to pop the back toes back down and swing that left leg out to the side. Turning the body to the side of the mat and planting that back foot. Really make sure the foot is flat on the ground. You might need to adjust the foot. And then when you're ready, extending the right arm up. One more breath. I'm going to lift that right leg up and send the right arm up and overhead. So the bicep comes alongside the ear. Flex through the foot. And then placing the right hand on the ground. You can see if you can bring that leg all the way forwards into that lizard variation. The same as we did on the first side, just feeling into some movement into the hips, maybe straightening the leg, making some circles, whatever feels right. And just be mindful, as this is in the morning, we tend to be a lot tighter than if we practice later on in the day. So don't be pushing your body further than it wants to go. And then coming back forward so that right knee is bent, keep the left hand down, sweep the right arm up. Really lean back into it so you open up across the chest. Okay. And you can circle that arm. Doesn't matter which way you go. We'll go in both directions. So again, if that feels a bit too intense, bring the hand onto the shoulder and circle the elbow. And reverse. I can't even remember which way I went first. Really doesn't matter. Lovely. Bringing the hand back up towards the sky, bend into that back foot. If you're able to reach hold of the foot, draw it in towards your body. So you get this slight twist as well. If that's not accessible for you, just plant the palm back down and keep the foot squeezing in towards you. Lovely. Release that foot back down. Just going to walk that foot more towards the center of the mat, bring the hands onto the thighs and lift up. Sink the hips forwards and down. And again, don't worry if your knee came over the ankle. We're focusing on that left hip flexor. And then coming more upright. I'm going to inhale, take the arms up overhead. As you exhale, bring the left arm down, reaching for that left thigh, and reach the right arm up and back. A slight back bend, challenging our balance as well. Inhale back up to center. And exhale, bring the right hand down, reaching for that left thigh. Reach the left arm back. And inhale back to center. And then we'll plant the palms, step that right foot back, so we're back in our tabletop. You can have a little wiggle out. And then we'll take the knees nice and wide, big toes to touch, sitting the hips back, coming into child's pose for a few breaths. Take any variation of a child's pose. If you prefer the knees together, you can go ahead and do that. If you like to take the arms behind and come onto the forehead, do that. Whichever you find most restful. So I'm just going to reach my arms forwards and rest my head down. Just taking a few breaths, allow the breath to settle. Even though we've not done anything really energetic, I find that very often my heart rate's still raised. And just take one more nice long breath. And then coming back up to all fours. Just bringing the knees underneath the hips again. Hands underneath the shoulders. You might want to walk your hands forwards just an inch or two. We're going to tuck the toes under and come up to downward facing dog. So as you're ready, peeling the hips up. When you arrive, just bend into one knee, straighten the other leg, alternating from side to side. So just pedaling out through the legs, having a really good stretch. You can make any other movements that you'd like to. If you want to bend and straighten the legs, wiggle the hips side to side. Just anything that feels good to you. And as you're ready, we're going to sweep that right leg up and back, toes point down. Bend the knee, we're going to squeeze it in towards the chest and step it forwards. If that doesn't work for you, you can just come down to your knees and then help the leg forward, as long as we end in this runner's lunge. Okay. And then you can spin that back heel down, keep the front knee bent as you lift the chest. We're coming into warrior one. So just take a moment to adjust your feet as you need to. I like a quite wide base between my legs so it doesn't feel tight in the hips. So this back foot is roughly on a 45-degree angle. Front toes are facing the top of your mat. Bend into the front knee. We'll inhale, take the arms up overhead. Just taking a breath to settle in this pose. With an inhale, and as you exhale, you're going to reach that right arm towards the left thigh, reaching the left arm up and back. So you might take a small back bend. And inhale, come back to center. Take a full breath. Next inhale, as you exhale, bend the elbows. Really squeeze the shoulder blades behind you. And then bring the hands down behind the back, interlacing the fingers. As you inhale, lift the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades. When you exhale, we're coming into humble warrior. So any variation that works for you. You might just hinge forwards a little way, and that might be enough. You might come down a little bit deeper and start to draw the arms away from the body. You might find that your shoulder connects to your knee, and you can reach the arms up and over. So we'll just take 3 breaths here. Try and make them nice, steady breaths. And then we're going to release the hands to the ground and start to straighten that front leg. Try and keep the pelvis level. So you want a sense of pulling this left hip forward at the same time as pulling the right hip back. And if that's a bit too much for you, you can always bring the hands to the hips and hover. It's a really nice hamstring stretch. Or not so nice if it's not one of your favourites. You don't need to fold all the way in towards your knee. It's nice to keep the chest lifted and keep some space. Lovely. We'll bend back into that front knee. Plant the palms. Wiggle onto those back toes. And then step the right foot back to meet the left. Press through the heels in a nice strong plank. Inhale. As you exhale, bend the elbows, lower onto your front. And when you arrive, you're going to take the hands out to the sides, just off of the mat. So making little spider hands. Forehead kisses the mat. As you inhale, lifting up into a cobra. And exhale back down, twice more. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale, lower. Bringing the hands by the ribs, we're just going to press up through all fours, tucking the toes under and lifting the hips up and back. So we're back in our downward facing dog. And again, just take a couple of breaths here to wiggle out, maybe bend and straighten the legs. Just noticing if one side feels any different to the other. You can always drop to your knees and take a little child's pose here instead if that feels better. And then we'll move on to the other side. So as you're ready, we're going to sweep that left leg up and back, toes point down. Exhale, bring that knee in towards the chest, step the foot forwards. Don't worry if you needed to lower down to your knees. So meeting a runner's lunge, left foot forwards. And then you're just going to pivot that back heel down. So we're rising up into warrior one. Take your time. Once you arrive, adjust your feet as you need to. Just make sure that the hips are facing forwards. And there's no tightness or pulling in the legs or the hip area. When you're ready, inhale, take the arms up overhead. Just arriving in this pose, just take a couple of breaths to settle in, see how it feels, make any adjustments if you need to. Lovely. And then we'll inhale. As you exhale, reach that left arm back towards the right thigh, right arm reaches up and back. Maybe a small back bend, maybe just reaching directly up is enough. If you can't even reach the leg, just maybe grab hold of your clothing. Inhale, the arms go back up. Exhale, bend the elbows, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And then release the hands behind the back. Maybe you can interlace the hands the opposite way, so the opposite thumbs on top this time. We'll inhale, draw the knuckles down, lift the chest. And your exhale, we're coming into our humble warrior on this side. So maybe that's just hinging forwards a little way. Maybe come a little bit lower and start to draw the arms away from the body. And maybe that shoulder connects to the knee. No wrong way. And 3 long breaths here. And release the hands down to frame that front foot. And start to straighten that front leg. So we're doing pyramid on this side. And again, if that's too intense, you can't keep the hands on the ground, you can come up and start with the hands on the hips and lower down to where it feels appropriate. Try and keep the pelvis nice and level, so drawing that right hip forward, left hip back. Can be quite an intense pose, this one. And start to bend into that front knee again. Just wiggle onto those back toes. We're going to step left foot back to meet the right for our plank. So really pressing the heels away. One nice long line from the shoulders to the feet. Inhale. And exhale, bend the elbows, lower to the belly. And just like before, we'll take the hands wide off the mat. As you inhale, press up, cobra. And exhale back down. Twice more. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower. Inhale to lift. And exhale, lower. Lovely. Bring the hands by the ribs this time. We're going to press up and back into a child's pose. So whatever variation you want to take. Come down into our child's pose, resting the forehead down. If you need to grab a cushion or something to support your head, you can. Just taking some nice deep breaths. Just bring your awareness to the back of the body. Noticing where you feel your breath. Maybe feel it at the sides of the body, the back. We always tend to focus our attention of our breath on the front of the body. But when we breathe, we breathe 360 degrees. So as we breathe in, our entire body expands. If you had your arms behind you, I want you to take them forwards now. We'll just lift the chest slightly so we can see what we're doing. And then we're going to take a thread the needle in this child's pose. So we're going to take the right arm first, thread it underneath us, underneath the chest. Reach the fingers as far away as we can. Keep the left arm reaching forwards. Just come down to rest on that ear. It should feel really nice in the shoulder. If you start to lose some of the sensation, you can readjust and wiggle those fingers a little bit further. Just try to make sure that the hips are still rooted down. You're not sort of lifted them up to get into this position. If you struggle to get in this position, you can always just bring your forearm to the ground and work the pose from here. You might find over time you gradually get closer to the ground. And then slowly unravel, come back to center. We'll do that on the other side. So threading that left arm underneath and coming down to rest on the ear. And slowly start to unravel. Walking the hands back into your body. And we're just going to transition to the ground now. So take your time getting there. Just center yourself on your mat. Coming all the way down onto the mat into constructive rest. So with the knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Arms rest down by the sides. Maybe take them out a little bit wider. I'm just going to drop the knees from one side onto the other. This windscreen wiper motion with the legs. Lovely. And coming back to center. And then squeeze the knees in towards the chest. Have the arms out like a big T, so you feel supported. And you're just going to lower the legs over to one side. So if you have a hard time bringing the legs so that they're stacked, which I do, a really good thing to do is to place a cushion or something between them so that you can actually rest in the pose. When you're sort of like hovering, it can feel uncomfortable. If you feel that your legs are supported, that feels much better. You can relax. We want to keep the chest spiraling up towards the sky, both shoulder blades on the ground. So if you still find that your legs are floating, maybe you could place something under that bottom leg as well, so that your legs feel like they're grounded. And if you feel like your breathing's restricted in any way, back out of the pose and just come in at a less intense level. You should be able to breathe easily. Okay. And then we'll bring the legs back up through center. And we'll take that to the other side. So just readjust on the mat. You might have moved a little bit. Squeeze the knees in towards the chest and then lower them over to the other side. Just noticing if it feels any different. I don't actually need the cushion on this side. My leg is floating a little bit above the other, but it feels okay. So again, just making sure both shoulders are on the ground, chest is facing up. And your breathing is flowing nice and smoothly. Okay, start to bring the knees back up to center, bringing the feet back to the ground. We'll just take one more pose before our final resting pose. So we're going to come into a happy baby. We're going to start by bringing the knees in towards the chest and then separate them so they're nice and wide. If that feels like where you want to hang out for a minute, then stay here. Otherwise, you can kick the feet up towards the sky, holding onto the outer edges of the feet. If you're taking this option, make sure that the ankle is stacked over the knee. And the sole of the foot faces directly upwards. So you're making this sort of 90-degree angle at the knee. We're aiming to draw the knees down towards the outside of the ribs. Again, but if this first option felt better, more restful, then hang out here. We're just taking some deep breaths. Just really allowing our breath to settle. our mind to calm. And then we'll release the feet back to the ground. If there's anything you feel called to do right now before you come to stillness in your Savasana, go ahead, get any fidgeting you need to do out the way. Grab your props if you wanted anything. Maybe you grab a pillow for your head. Maybe place something under the knees. I always find that quite nice. Just take a minute to get yourself settled in a Shavasana. And of course, if lying down flat on your back doesn't feel good for you, you can take your Shavasana on your front or on your side. That might feel much more restful for you. You'll benefit more from doing something that feels relaxing than lying here for a couple of minutes feeling uncomfortable. I quite like to do it on my front sometimes, make a little pillow for my head with my arms. But when you arrive in your Shavasana, just take up some space on your mat. So take the arms and legs out a little bit wider. Close down the eyes. Just take in a mental scan through your body. You could start at the top of the head. Is there any tension in the forehead? Are you clenching your jaw? Can you release the jaw a little? Are your shoulders creeping up towards your ears? Maybe you could just shuffle them down a little bit and relax back down. Do your arms feel relaxed? Maybe give them a little bit of a wobble. Wiggle the fingers. Do the hips feel grounded and supported? Is there any discomfort in the lower back or hip area? Adjust if you need to. And a not so obvious one, how do your knees feel? Do they feel like you're tensing the legs up? Or are they slightly bent and relaxed? If not, go ahead and bend into them a little bit. Moving all the way down to the ankles. Just let the feet naturally splay out to the sides. Give the toes a quick little wiggle. Let them relax. And finding your stillness now. Just allowing your breath to ebb and flow as it wishes to. Allow your mind to wander. Just give your mind and body full permission to relax now. Just bring your awareness to any sounds that you can hear. Just allowing that to anchor you back into the here and now. Start to bring back some small movements, just wiggling fingers and toes, maybe gently rocking the head side to side. Maybe you take the arms up overhead, take a full body stretch. Before bending into the knees, you can just gently roll onto one side. Just pausing here for a moment. We don't want to rush our way up. And then when you're ready to, just use the hands to help press you up to take a seat. Keeping the eyes closed, just resting the hands onto the knees. Just like we did at the start of class, just taking a quick scan. How does your body feel? How does your mood feel? Just noticing any subtle changes, if any. And blinking the eyes open whenever you're ready to. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.